At the time I heard about the news, I was actually having lunch with my family and I was using my phone at the same time. So I saw a Facebook update that an AirAsia flight had gone missing. As the day went on, more people started talking about it. And I got a WhatsApp from one of my group chats that actually one of his friends whom he went to school with was on the flight. It was very sad because we had heard stories about how people from Indonesia were coming to Singapore to spend New Year's and Christmas with their families. When I came to work on Monday, I thought it was just going to be a normal day. I was having lunch with a colleague and halfway through my lunch I got an urgent call, so I had to drop whatever I was doing to report to my boss and cover the event. I was told at about 1:30 p.m. that the ship was leaving at 4 p.m. So no, I don't think I really had the time to really absorb whatever that was going to happen to me for the next few days on board the ship.
So once we got the news, we did not have a lot of time to prepare for our deployment.
I had to get the ship ready to conduct the mission. I have to ensure that my crew are also prepared in terms of mentally and psychologically.
The first night out at sea was quite rough. Things were falling all over the place. A TV that was mounted on the wall had fallen off. Furniture was thrown all around in the room. A few of us actually threw up on the first night. So it was a pretty daunting experience. So from my understanding, the plan was that sorties from the Super Puma helicopters would be carried out once to twice a day to comb the designated search area. And if anything was found and if anything needed to be retrieved, then the fast craft units would be deployed to carry out the actual retrieval. So on New Year's Eve, we did ask the ship crew if they were going to do anything special, since many of them had to cancel plans with families, with girlfriends, with wives, with their children. But they did say that out of respect, because of the nature of the situation, they weren't going to do anything. The day before we arrived at the wreckage zone, I was actually quite nervous. I was expecting to arrive at a war zone type of scenario with debris and with bodies just strewn across an isolated region. The thought of entering the actual epicenter of the search zone was quite daunting. Accidents of this nature, whatever is recovered won't be a very pleasant sight.
Operations within this area has been challenging. The weather trends out in the sea is highly unpredictable. Weather comes in and goes very quickly. So the opportunity for launch windows are very limited, and we are making best use of these good windows to go out to do a search of the areas to bring back info on whatever we can find out.
Back at sea, the current, the sea state meant that even if you did deploy the fast crafts, firstly, it would be more hazardous towards the men. And secondly, when the waves are going at such a height, it's difficult to spot things that are floating in between the waves. So this also made the search and rescue operation a bit more complicated. The day that the body was spotted from the helicopter, the crew had been on standby for most of the day, and sometime around 5 p.m. or 4 p.m. They decided to take off. So they were gone for about 2 hours. Thankfully, the weather held up long enough. From my understanding, it was only in the last 10 minutes on their way back that they spotted the body.
Now I'll launch the starboard side first, followed by the port side.
It started to rain for the next hour or two. So by the time the fast crafts could be sent out, it was already about 9 p.m. I was on one of the fast crafts that went out. The only light source was coming from the dim moonlight and from the limited reach of the searchlights on board the ship. It was slightly after the men had their dinner. Some of them were feeling really seasick. Give it to the men for being out there for 3 hours. It was really not an easy job. So on the 3rd of January, I woke up because someone had knocked on my door and said that something had been retrieved. We knew that something serious was going on, but we had to wait until they gave us confirmation that it was indeed a body that they had found. So when we did get the confirmation, they brought us down to the tank deck where they had retrieved the body from. And by then they had already secured and wrapped up the body and done all the necessary things to preserve the body with dignity. On the same day that the body was retrieved, they had identified a floating object in the water. When we got closer to it, they actually managed to retrieve it from the ship, and it turned out that it was a Liferaft from the missing AirAsia aircraft. It wasn't an easy task retrieving the Liferaft. It actually took about 20 men to pick up the Liferaft. When we spoke to some of the men on board, we asked them what mission accomplished means to them. And they did say that mission accomplished doesn't mean retrieving bodies, doesn't mean retrieving parts of the aeroplane debris. It's really just about being out there safely, about helping our Indonesian counterparts in the time of need and returning home safely with all their men. We thought of the anxious relatives who were waiting for the news of their missing family members on board the AirAsia flight. So we very much wanted to be part of the team that could help to bring closure to the family members who were missing their relatives on board the flight.